Empire. The live broadcast is constantly modernizing.
And so Sony and Grass Valley really recognized that and developed quite a few different systems that were really made to fit. And when I say made to fit, fitting the right lens, the correct big lens that you would see at a live sporting event.
That's Nick Garvin, COO of Mobile TV Group, which is working with outlets all over the country to put on the best broadcasts that money can buy. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein. We have spent a lot of time discussing all of the different content offerings that platforms are leaning into as times change. But the broadcasts themselves have had a revolution in terms of demands on tech, second screen friendly offerings, and all the bells and whistles that young fans want and demand. This while audiences fracture. For Nick Garvin, finding that balance has been an interesting ride. Our guest this week is Nick Garvin. He's the Chief Operating Officer and the Managing Partner of Mobile TV Group, which is a leader in live television production, technology innovation, customer service, and maintenance. They're producing over 4,000 live, mainly sporting events all over the country. Hey, Nick, how are you?
Hey there. I'm well, thanks. Thanks for having me today.
Why don't we just get some background? Give me the background of Mobile TV Group and what you guys are doing now.
Yeah. We started many years ago, nearly 30 years ago now, as really just a small studio. And the Denver Nuggets and Prime Sports needed help with their productions. And that's how MTVG, Mobile TV Group, really got its start. And since then, it's grown, many times over, really all organically, really duplicating that model of partnering with the local teams and the local RSNs and networks to provide our technology and live production services. And as you mentioned, we're now covering well over half of the NBA, NHL, and Major League Baseball across the country, along with many other types of events, corporate, entertainment, and music. Really anyone who needs to go live and they're looking for a technology partner to support them, that would be us.
Cool. All right, so let's dive into it a little bit. Tell me about live production in modern sports now. What has changed, and what are teams and your partners looking for out of a live broadcast?
Yeah. So much has changed, and so much has actually stayed the same in many ways. But our partners, the various networks around the country, are always looking to improve their production. And so improving their production means anywhere from increasing the efficiency of the production that they have to do so many of, and then there's of course increasing the quality of the video and the program that the viewers and the fans see at home. So stepping back maybe 5 years or so, that there's been a constant push for more cameras, more angles. A big technology push was around super slow motion. There used to be maybe one or two super slow motion cameras on any given live professional event, and really now the standard is at least four. Briefly, super slow motion cameras cost more, they take more, record, and they're more complicated. And then evolving from there, the big ones have been and are 4K, 1080p, and then of course HDR, which is high dynamic range, which allows you to see those bright colors and or you can see players in the dark, in the shade and in the brightest and sunniest spots at the same time. So those have been the big ones. And then around the efficiency side of things, with COVID accelerating, it's something that we developed called cloud control, which allows production teams to remote into a live event without traveling to it.
I want to get into that a little bit.
Yeah.
This this started really pre-COVID for a lot of different content providers, but obviously was exacerbated by the issues with the pandemic. Can you take me a little bit more into the idea of doing but doing it from a remote location?
Sure. So I'll start by saying there's probably a dozen different flavors of this. And the flavors that a particular production team uses depends on a handful of things like budget, like the size of the live production, and maybe even the value of the live production. But the most common one that we do probably now almost 10 times a day is cloud control, where it's really used for regional sports networks where there is a home team production and a visiting or away team production. So an example I'll just pull out of the hat here is the Los Angeles Clippers at the Denver Nuggets. So historically, Bally Sports West is the content or rights holder of the Los Angeles Clippers, and their production team would travel to Denver to produce the Clippers feed at the Denver Nuggets. That includes, your producer, director, and some more operators that would travel. And with cloud control, we and TBG have built 25 of these cloud control rooms around the country. So Bally Sports West in Santa Monica have a cloud control room that they go into instead of traveling to Denver, and they are controlling the mobile unit that is at Ball Arena in Denver Nuggets.
Okay, they're controlling it. Are both teams controlling the same camera angles and shots? Are they sharing that, or is that separated for the Nuggets broadcast and the Clippers broadcast?
It's a great question, and something we spend a lot of time on. This is what we call a dual feed.
Yeah.
So the answer is sort of yes. They have some of their own cameras. They also share some cameras, but there are two different complete productions, but they do share some resources along with the technology that's in the mobile unit. The really expensive pieces, the router and the switcher, are actually split in half, and half given to, in my example of the Denver Nuggets, would be Altitude Sports, and then in Los Angeles would be Bally Sports West. So that's called the dual feed. So they share those systems, but two different productions. And that can be applied whether they travel to the event or they don't, and they're back in their cloud control room.
Oh, okay, because for the purpose of storytelling, the story of the game to the Nuggets broadcasters might be very different than the story of the game to the Clippers broadcasters, dependent on variables, obviously. So
Right.
They're sharing the feeds. When you say sharing, they're sharing what? The standard shots where the ball's being brought up the court, but they could then cut away to the replays or the cutaways of their bench that makes more sense to the story they're telling that wouldn't then be seen on the other regional network. Do I have that right?
You have it right with one. I think one addition there is they can access any and all of the cameras independent of each other. So it's not just replays. It's a different announcer. It's a different producer and director, and they can take any and all camera with there's typically at least a dozen cameras. And as the away broadcaster in our workflow, they, in this case the Bally Sports West producer and director, can control up to 3 cameras. That means that they are directing those camera operators to focus on whatever they want to tell their story.
Got it.
But they can still go to any camera at any time.
Right. So when a coach is having a discussion with a player on the bench, that may not matter to the Nuggets broadcast because it's the Clippers coach doing it, but to the Clippers broadcast, it does. So they can communicate that they want that specific shot. Yes?
You got it.
Okay.
You got it.
And these are human camera operators, right? Are we at a place where you're looking at robotically controlling the shots within a live event in a major stadium?
Predominantly human camera operators operating those cameras. There are some robotic cameras for unique positions, like on top of the stanchions in a basketball game or on the glass and in the NHL game. But even those are controlled by a human operator just in a different location.
Okay.
There are some automation technologies out there that are pretty interesting, but our customers, our clients, really prefer that human element that they can see outside of the lens what's going on outside of the field of view.
Okay, and you had mentioned here that the technology has grown significantly, especially in recent years. Let me go back to slow-mo technology. That's been around for a very long time, but it sounds like it's gone to another level. Can you explain what the difference is in implementing the new type and slow-mo technology into a live broadcast?
Yeah, I mean, it was only probably 8 years ago where they were military grade cameras that were being retrofitted to be used in a live broadcast, and they just had a lot of limitations. They weren't built for everyday use in a live broadcast, and so Sony and Grass Valley really recognized that and developed quite a few different systems that were really made to fit. And when I say made to fit, fitting the right lens, a correct big lens that you would see at a live sporting event, along with matching. So in a live broadcast, when cameras are being switched from one to the other, you want the same look, the same color. You want them to match, and so that they accomplish that. And then it's always just how super slow mo is it? Is it 3 times? Is it 6 times? And 6 times has really sort of become the standard that most people will see on TV.
This episode is brought to you by Chalk and Dog, which brings together the vast experience and expertise of 2 of the brightest agencies in media, sports, wagering, and gaming. With deep roots in the UK and the US, the agency offers expert guidance in everything from market entry to market expansion for startups as well as established global brands powered by best-in-class communication and creative experts. Chalk and Dog has vast international experience and delivers results-oriented, tailor-made solutions for B2B and B2C organizations. And then there is the modern, I don't know if it's issue is the right word for it, but a lot of what is being filmed and used for the broadcast needs to then be disseminated through social media, through clips. How do you kind of think through what that needs to look like and for the purpose of that priority for the platform to be able to share what's happening throughout all different social media platforms?
Yeah, as at MTVG, we help create the production, and then we sort of hand it over to our clients. But something interesting along those lines is we actually worked with the NBA to help them develop something called the mobile view. And there's the game camera in an NBA broadcast, which you see about 80% of the time. It's sort of the back and forth. And on TV, that angle looks great, but on a mobile device, it's a little too small. You're a little too far away. So the screen size is so much smaller. So it's actually a pretty simple solution, a little trick that we helped develop with them, where we have another camera set right next to it, and it zooms in a little bit tighter on the game for the mobile phone. And so when in the mobile unit, when the technical director cuts to that game camera, on your TV, you see one camera, but if you're watching on your phone, it automatically switches to that other one. So whether it's social media or through an app and streaming app, you'll see a slightly different zoomed in angle that has really been successful, I think, and viewers have really noticed, according to the NBA.
All right, let me ask this question. This might be even too in the weeds, but here you are bringing all this different technology in. The content providers would like the latest and the greatest in terms of cameras and all of the different effects that it can give and all the different options that it gives the content provider. Do you talk to the teams in the stadium about lighting and what is happening within the arena to ensure that what you are giving back to the television provider is what they are, looking, quote unquote, looking for? Yeah.
Well, it's pretty interesting in our world. There are a lot of different stakeholders. There's the arena, which is usually has a different owner, or many times does, than the team.
Huh.
Then the team, sells the rights broadcast to the network.
Yep.
And then it's really the networks, the Fox Sports, the ESPNs, the CBS, the Bally Sports that then come to us to provide this technology and these systems. So there is a lot of coordination and quite a bit of partnership among all of them, but they are different stakeholders with slightly different priorities. But lighting has been a big thing over the years for the NBA, and has some overlap, of course, with many NHL arenas. And so, yeah, it is a factor, and it's gotten really good. The lighting has really improved, which actually eliminates some of the needs for some of these tricks like HDR, high dynamic range, that I mentioned.
Yeah.
But where high dynamic range really shines is when you don't have control of the lighting in Major League Baseball stadium, usually outdoor, and especially in football.
Let me ask you about AR and VR technologies. How are you integrating that into what you all are doing?
We saw a little bit of a spike in the demand for those types of technologies, and we were paying really close attention for a while. And in our world, it's sort of fizzled out a little bit for now. My opinion is that it'll probably come back, but and this is somewhat anecdotal, but the social component of watching a live event with people, I just don't think has been totally recreated yet in the VR AR world, where you want to talk to your friends, so much throughout a live event. You don't want to be in, your little bubble with the headset on.
And I guess the audience will determine this, but we've already kind of touched on some of the stuff you're doing is cost efficient for the providers. I don't know that VR is cost efficient on your end for them. And I don't know what the AR cost to produce for them is. So is that maybe some of the stumbling blocks too, that they're concerned about what it would cost to actually produce that on their broadcasts?
Yeah. The short answer is I'm not sure. I think I think the demand is still, I think, in question.
Yeah.
I mean, there was always that dream, right? You could sell a courtside seat 1 million times over, right? That was, I think, the hypothesis that just sounded so appetizing. And I think there might be a resolution challenge still. We're still trying to push 1080p. When I mean push, I mean accomplish 1080p throughout the complete distribution channel, and accomplish 4K, which we have done. We built the first 4K mobile unit in the U.S. That actually covered the Masters as its debut. But when you have something so close to your face, you really need extremely high resolution, right? It's just like if you were to go stand in front of your TV, even if you have a great 4K TV, if you get too close, you will see the pixels, and you will see pixelization. Whereas if you step too far, you're really far away, which actually most consumers are a little too far away. Whether it's 4K or HD doesn't matter as much. But when you strap something so close to your face, it really needs to be, in my opinion, 4K, 8K, or even more.
All right, let's end on a broad question. We talked to a lot of groups that are on the production side of it. They talk about all the things that will be implemented into the broadcast, gaming, gambling, all this other type of stuff. I'm curious from your point of view, what the trends are for what the game is going to look like, regardless of all the accoutrements that go into the actual content itself. Are we going to watch basketball games the same way we've always watched them, or is that changing right now?
Crystal ball question. The one thing that is a continuous trend, and that our team gets challenged with, is more. It's just more camera angles, just more inputs. We're sending signals in any given, professional event. We're sending signals, 5 to 10 different ways, whether it's going to the league or going to the referee center. So I think they're definitely pushing in just all directions more. What will it look like? the various feeds I think will evolve, and they'll be able to deliver unique feeds to the right viewers. Where I think generally we're still getting the same look, whether you're watching or I'm watching. So I think it will continue to be more personalized, tailored to the viewer.
Nick Garvin is the COO and the managing partner at Mobile TV Group. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
On the next Future Sport podcast, we will revisit the weight room and some technology helping teams become the best they can be.
At the core, we are a fitness technology company that is focused on strength training, right? So if you think about like a wearable device, like an Apple Watch that tracks like your heart rate, steps, calories, we provide a similar experience, but really focused on strength training movements.
That's Jacob Rothman, CEO and co-founder of Perch, the technology that helps you build your most competitive body. That will do it for this episode. As always, the future is now. This is the Future Sport Podcast. I'm Bram Weinstein.